out your spirit, pour out your spirit.
Reviewing the outpouring for your refreshing and infilling.
Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me.
Welcome viewers today to the outpouring. Today on the outpouring, it's going to be a little different, and we are going to be focusing on education and the youths. And with me today via StreamYard, I have the principal, also the managing director of a school in Trinidad. And that school, God would have given him great wisdom in terms of how to set things up and how to be relevant and effective for our times, this generation that we are in, and also to be ready for the problems that we are all seeing in the education system. The name of my guest today is Mr. Adrian Clement, and the name of the school is Success Academy. That was a tongue twister. Excel Success Academy. And they are about motivation. They are about innovative ideas. And their aim is in motivation, I shall, I must, and help me, Adrian.
Excel I shall, excel I will, and excel I must.
Yes. So Adrian, over to you. Tell us about your vision. Tell us why you into this school. Where did it all start, and the impact that you are making.
Awesome. Well, I want to say a pleasant good morning or good afternoon, whichever time zone you're watching this excellent program, The Outpouring. Thank you for this opportunity to be on your show, Ms. Berkeley. The Excel Success Academy began with a vision of how can we impact, how can we equip, and how can we empower the next generation of emerging leaders? That's what I call our young people of today, our emerging leaders who will be the influencers and who will be the workforce of tomorrow. And this vision started literally as a community August camp. And this camp literally grew beyond our expectation to the point where the impact of the camp on the students who attended the camp during that July August vacation left our organization at a dire straits. And the dire straits was, are we going to have a once a year religious traditional camp that will only impact a child and a home once a year? Or are we going to have continuous engagement with these families and students as to see the long-term transformation of these students? And that is when the NGO, which is the parent company of the Excel Success Academy, was born, called the Excel Mentorship and Success Coaching Class. That was in the year 2014. So we are literally now about 10 years later, all right? And this year will make it 10 years. And we are looking at hundreds of students, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the Caribbean islands, even in countries of the United States of America, Guyana, and several Caribbean countries. It'll be too much to name. We have impacted and trained students, both locally and internationally, and had some amazing success stories over that period of time. But our vision is mainly to mentor, empower, and innovative education, which is the slogan for our school. Mentorship, motivation, and innovative education. That's our vision in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Well, viewers, I must tell you that I met Adrian. We recently, at the Outpouring, over the carnival period, we had a camp for just about 10 young persons. And a little prior to that, I met Adrian on the phone. And when I heard what he was doing, I invited him to speak at that carnival camp that we had about a little over a month ago. And I was really very impressed with the way in which he was able to relate to the youths using their language, motivating them, also bringing a dimension of spirituality. Because what I found that is happening presently in the education system, it's almost as if we're losing a lot of our young people. It's like a lot of education being poured into a vacuum and nothing is happening. Adrian, you want to just share a little bit on that, the present education system and the strategies that you all are using?
That's an excellent question and a very even more a more excellent observation in terms of what is the state, the current state of education in this Trinidad and Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I have been an educator, trainer, youth development worker for the past 20 years. As a full-time community worker, um, served as a national youth pastor at a certain period in time. And now, as a teacher, it has been really, really, to be quite honest, scary to see the state of our schools and more importantly, the state of the students within the school system, how they think, how they behave, how they perform. Um, it's really is a scary sight when you go into some public schools and you see it in the newspapers. However, the state of education, the Ministry of Education has been doing, I would say, their very best with the resources available to them to see how best they can, coming out of the pandemic, how they can recalibrate the mind of of these students for learning after coming out of a 2.5 year pandemic where students have never before uh, even experienced what is called online school, something which is more prevalent in the first world countries, but in the third world regions of the globe, it is something completely new. And so the what we're having is educational experts says that the pandemic, though the linear timeline was a 2.5 year pandemic in terms of education space. Um, Experts said that we actually lost approximately 4 to 5 years of learning, all right, of student academic work in terms of the recidivism of the mind of the child towards their disposition for learning and education. And so we are playing catch up right now in the current space. And we are playing catch up in terms of the academic performance and their mindset for behavior in competition with all of um, the new vices being, very, very diplomatic here, devices that they would have adopted during the online school and the things they were exposed to, which is, way above their age level, uh, on the virtual space. And so what's happening is we are seeing behaviors, we are seeing triggers, we are seeing um, some very, very, very anti-educational disciplines now in the education space or in the classroom that some teachers are just not prepared to deal with because we're dealing not just with an academic problem, which is what educators are trained to deal with, but we're not dealing with social emotional issues. We're dealing with family dysfunctions. We're dealing with a very rapidly changing social media technological space, which has over the pandemic escalated a lot of school violence between different schools. That's why when school reopened in April 2021, you literally saw a surge of school student violence, where
Yes.
schools was running schools, and that came out of the online social wars that was literally taking place. The cyberbullying, which was rampant during the pandemic, and then when they came back out to school, there were these school rivalries taking place. And the Ministry of Education had to clamp down on these 14 top risk schools where police had to be patrolling and so on. And so we're dealing with
So,
a high number of issues.
So, Adrian, tell me, I mean, you have clearly identified, the cause and the current problem. Are you having issues like that with your school? And I believe that your school is like a template that is solution based to some of the problems identified. Could you speak to that situation where we
Of
can
course.
actually take the solution to the problem before the problem expands or explodes? Because it is expanding already, but I don't think it has reached an explosive state.
That is correct. And we are grateful. We really must be grateful to Almighty God that the situation have not exploded as yet. Um, the Excel Success Academy International School was literally, I would say, forged out of fire. And I say forged out of fire because prior to the pandemic, our NGO, Excel Mentorship and Success Coaching, took on the format of a part-time after-school mentorship program for students, both primary and secondary. And we did that successfully for about 7 years prior to the pandemic. And we were able to lobby and garner support from private sector, government agencies. It was just phenomenal. And the beauty about it, it was absolutely free. Absolutely free. And that was the miracle of this operation. Now, the pandemic escalated the deeper underlying issues that children were experiencing in the home, because now the home became the classroom. Now, I always tell my students, your first school is your home, and your first teacher is your parents. All right. Your second
Yes.
school is your school, and your second group of teachers is your formal education teachers. And what we saw is because of the pandemic is students, because that caring and supportive adult was not there to help coach and guide children through their learning difficulties, their academic deficiencies or remedial issues. Remember, teachers are trained to deal with a certain level of issues. But now when the parent became the teacher, this is where things became topsy-turvy. And the parent became the teacher in one of
Conflicting
the
of
most,
roles.
that is correct. They became a
Yes.
teacher in the most difficult point in history, all right, during a pandemic. So what you saw parents under pressure, trying to keep the status quo in survival mode, keeping a home afloat, and having to keep their child engaged and involved in their full-time school in an online cyber virtual space. And so when we saw the levels of failure rate that was beginning to spiral out of control, um, I sought the Lord, and I got very clear instructions. Okay, Adrian, it's time to launch the Excel Success Academy as a full-time solution. And so what we were
Wow.
able to do in a short space of time, we were able to launch a full-time private school. We run under a non-profit organization, and so our school fees has been very competitive in terms of accessible enough and affordable enough for the lower class, middle class, any class to access our programs. The beauty about our programs, that is what I will call the difference maker, is that our program involves not just academics. And that ties into the point you were sharing of in the public system, we are pouring education in a vacuum. I call it the values vacuum. I call it a character vacuum.
Yes.
Students do not carry the character, the discipline, the value system, the ethics, disciplines in order to support academic success and performance. And so what we have decided to do is create a hybrid program being trained out of the John Maxwell Company. As a John Maxwell coach and trainer, I've been exposed to several international accreditations in the area of leadership development, career development, um, personal success coaching, motivation. And so, with those skill sets, I married some of my expertise from my professional career background in corporate leadership and management, and married with the academic curriculum together with a mentorship component, which builds a very unique curriculum, which we call the Right Path Destiny curriculum. So the Right Path Destiny curriculum covers not just academics, but we cover mentoring. Mentorship is the process where the previous generation or a senior generation imparts knowledge and wisdom and skill in a guided way to a younger generation of prodigy. And so all of our teachers and staff, they're not just teachers, but they are mentors towards students. And so students feel comfortable. We create a safe space there where students could share challenges or situations they need guidance in. It creates a very loving, caring environment. And once you get that environment where a child feels safe, child feels loved and secure, their natural intelligence emerges. There's no
Yeah.
fear, there's no hindrances. And so we have been able, up to our last SEA 2023, out of that program, we were able to produce amazing success stories. And I feel very happy to mention her name, Jessica Cardenas, who just made national newspapers and national news as being awarded by United Nations um, the the National Children's Rights Ambassador for UNICEF um, in Trinidad and Tobago for the North District, which just happened about a few weeks ago. And she was our first SCA student that graduated from our school in 2023. And so, because we train and we develop leadership skills, mentoring and success coaching, spiritual, moral values, and ethics, work discipline and behaviors, along with a very active sporting regime of sport discipline, we see a new breed of students excited to come to school, to the point, Ms. Berkeley, where students sometimes don't even want to go home. So very interesting what we have been able to achieve in a short space of time.
Adrian, thank you so much. What I like about your system is that it caters to the whole child. It's not just education, because you can educate a child and you don't pay attention to their values, the character, you don't pay attention to their moral or their emotional well-being, and most of all you leave the spiritual aspect out, so you have almost an educated person but not functioning properly in all other aspects of their life. So that is one area I would really like to congratulate you. My question is, are you just limited to primary level, or are you in secondary level, or you plan on going into secondary level?
Again, the pandemic really was the impetus, the motivating factor of our hybrid model. How do we, the method we use to reach this generation of young people. And so what we did, we created a school model where we cover both primary and secondary in one unified system. So we had parents who were going through anxiety attacks, children going anxiety attacks of the percentage of failure that they may experience at SEA coming out of the pandemic. And one of parents' concerns was the SCA is simply a placement test. That's the reality of the exam. It's a placement test. And so some parents were having anxieties. How was of their child being zoned, which is a normal reality in our education system. And so we created both a primary and secondary system where students can seemingly matriculate from primary school into secondary school within the same organization, within the same school. All right. Of course, you have your final exams to determine at what stream or at which level you are promoted at. But you have the option of either internally matriculating from primary to secondary at the Exercise Academy, or you do the standard SC exam if you want to pass for a school of your choice in the public school system.
That's great. So, all in all, would you say that your whole system is really based on the wisdom of God and biblical principles?
Um,
Not here.
what I love about, okay, yes. What I love about science and the God we serve is that science keeps um, confirming the reality of God. Um,
Amen.
and everything that the Holy Book, the Bible would have espoused and would have stated, science is literally confirming up to date, 2,000 years later, right? The wisdom of God is far above the wisdom of men. And one of the things that our faith um, outlines is that man is both spirit, soul, and body. We are
Yes.
spirit, soul, and body. And the problem we're having in training and educating students today is that we are only providing education to the intellect, but we are not treating with the social, emotional, and the spiritual dimension of that student. And so we had an issue the other day um, where there was a former minister of, I think, land and a former minister. I'm trying to remember which ministry. However, he was sharing about an issue that came to his desk. He's now resigned, and he was talking about a qualified doctor. He's certified by the board, all right, and he practices in the public healthcare system. And this complaint came to his desk about a doctor practicing in the regional health authority, but he has a private real estate company, and he is doing fraudulent activities and robbing people of their properties and their money in the real estate industry. The minute he heard about it, the first thing came to his mind was, where is the ethics of this professional doctor, where he swore an oath in the medical fraternity, yet he's breaking that same oath in another industry? The point he was making is, we have professional criminals today. They have bachelors, they have master's programs, they wear shirt and tie like I have right now. And they have no moral values, no ethics, no codes, and they are distressing people in society when they reach at a certain level of influence. And unfortunately, this is what we are producing today, where we have young people, they have no moral compass. They have education, they are very highly intelligent, but when they transfer from the world of school to the world of work, the workforce of tomorrow, they have um, low work ethic, they have no sense of loyalty and commitment to a company or industry. Um, they have a very entitlement mentality. They're always on their phone. They have no sense of right and wrong in terms of giving a fair values work for a fair values pay, right? And these are moral and ethical issues, but if we don't address it from a spiritual moral perspective, just as you said, we are pouring education in a vacuum.
Adrian, well said, well said. I remember when you spoke to the youths, you spoke also about having them know their sense of self-worth. We just have about 3 more minutes on this program. So give us your closing remarks, and we may have young persons viewing, or we may have person from the education system looking at this program. What would you say in closing? And I believe this program is something we need to build upon with other players, in this field. So give us your closing remarks.
My closing remarks to that young person looking at this television program today is something that I produced and published at my school called the Excel Success Pledge. And in about 1 minute, 60 seconds, I'm gonna recite it, and we have it available if you desire it. But the pledge says this: you or I am born for greatness. I deserve to be successful in life, and nothing and no one will stop me from reaching it. I will not allow my past mistakes or my childhood upbringing to restrict me from fulfilling my dreams or your dreams. Today, you can begin a new life by replacing your bad habits with good ones. You are not stupid, you are not rebellious, you're not a mistake or a failure. Therefore, refuse to be normal and refuse to be average, because you can always do better. You are created with intelligence, skills, talent, creativeness, power, words, and freedom of choice. Do not or refuse to be a victim of your present circumstances, because you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. Excel you shall, excel you will, and excel you must. That's our Excel Success Pledge that we recite every morning here at Assembly after the national anthem.
Adrian, I want to reverse the hands of time, go back to my youth and attend your school. I want to thank you so much for being on the Outpouring today. This was excellent. You will, viewers, you're going to hear more from him, and we're going to bring other persons on, and probably using another forum we will continue in this vein, because this is the future. This is our future, and I believe you are onto something that is powerful and that can have an influence on the leaders of tomorrow. So once again, I truly thank you for being on the Outpouring today, and viewers, be blessed and stay blessed. You can feel free to call the numbers, because I know if you like me, you want a copy of that pledge. Okay, so God bless you. Adrian, thanks so much once again, Mr. Adrian Clement, the principal and managing director of the school Excel Success, and you finished it for me.
The Excel Success Academy International School. It's been a pleasure to be on
Thank
today.
you. Thank you very much.
Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit.
Reviewing the Outpouring for your refreshing and infilling.
Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit.